session entitled All About Academics. Welcome to Tiger Talk Tuesdays. I'm excited to be with you. We are excited to have you as you come into the room. And this topic, and you know, it's hot off the press, get to know the Morehouse academic divisions and core classes. This is going to be an important and intricate part of information as you consider attending Morehouse and every expectation of how you go about sort of finding what classes are necessary to make it at Morehouse College. So super, super excited to have you all. Let's get started. All right, so I'm your moderator for the evening. My name is Michael Gum. I serve as the Director of Admissions for Morehouse College in the Office of Admissions and Recruitment, or an amazing title of the Office of Strategic Marketing, Communications, and Admissions here at Morehouse College. Joined with me is a wealth of knowledge, an intricate part of Morehouse, a fabric of learning and tutelage and leadership of Dr. Adria Welcher, who is our Director of General Education, Chair of and Professor of Sociology here at Morehouse College. And I'll just come off of mute and let her say a couple of things about herself. She's everything, you all. You all are in for a treat.
So greetings, everyone. Mr. Gum, you are too kind and too gracious. I am just super excited to be able to talk about one of Morehouse's strengths, and that's our academic programming. So I'm looking forward to getting into this with all of you. But as has been said, I have had the wonderful fortune of serving as the Director of General Education, as well as an Associate Professor and Chair of the Department of Sociology here at Morehouse College. This marks my 10th year at the college, and I am ready to see us continuing to go and grow. And I hope that we're able to answer some really important questions for you, as the reason you are coming or considering Morehouse is so that you can enhance your educational landscape. And that's what we'll talk about today. So thank you so much, Mr. Gum.
Absolutely, Dr. Welch, and we're excited as you embark on this title. All right, so you know a little bit about me. Now let's get into the history of Morehouse College. All right, so for this topic, we are going to peruse on these 4 subjects: liberal arts education at Morehouse, the academic divisions and majors, the core classes that are offered at Morehouse College, and our general education thematic areas. These 4 components are going to be in detail. So it's important that you have your pen, you have your paper ready, that you're ready to engage and be able to really get into the nuts and bolts of what does it take to actually get through Morehouse through these 4 themes that we'll call them, the 4 themes of the college, and what does it take. All right, so a little bit about Morehouse College. Morehouse, for over 150 years, has had the mission to help men develop themselves into leaders, to be world-renowned change agents, who have been able to advance themselves in ways where not only is it important to understand who you are, but it's as is important to understand the global world around you. So we are founded in this foundational component of social justice and has this component of leadership and excellence. As a liberal arts college for men, Morehouse finds itself being an institution that's a pillar to most, and in many ways it's on the cutting edge of being able to support the educational needs of its students while at the same time propelling them for success. And so we're a liberal arts institution only made up of historically Black men, a majority of Black and African-American men, with that sense of mission and purpose to lead lives of leadership and service. These are major components of the institution that helps us be able to tell the Morehouse story. From the amazing alumni that have graduated the institution to the leaders that you find in your backyards. They say you could tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much. And I can tell you in the work ethic and the quality that you find, it really all starts in the academic center of understanding the world around you. So we'll go ahead and get into our topic of the day. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Welcher as she gets ready to present to you all on the amazingness of our Morehouse and its structure.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Gum, and thank you for always situating us in the sanctity, I like to say, of Morehouse College. We are a very special place. There is no other place like Morehouse in the world. So grateful that you are here to learn a little bit about how we do what we do on these red clay hills of Georgia. So we'll start with discussing the academic structure at Morehouse. So as we look at how we are academically structured, the core of our education is that we believe in a liberal arts education. Now, what does that mean? So if you look on the screen, you see our mission. Morehouse's mission is to develop men with, well, this is not the mission statement, but it's part of our mission, to develop men with disciplined minds who are prepared to lead through innovation, excellence, and a demonstrative commitment to service. So to get to the idea of being innovative, being excellent, and committing to service, we develop a curriculum that highlights liberal arts. In so doing, we encourage our young men to continue to search for truth through our various programs of study. We encourage interdisciplinarity, which is the idea that if you are a, say, sociology major, that you see how math is connected to what you do in sociology, that you are able to approach a problem from multiple perspectives, right? And we engage this liberal arts tradition across 4 divisions. So our curriculum is quite rigorous, but it's centered on scholarship, leadership development, research, and global engagement. As we talk about the value of a liberal arts education, it is critically important, and I'm going to start with the quote from Einstein here, to not learn just facts, but what we do with a liberal arts education is to literally train our mind to think about something that can't be taught to you from textbooks. I often joke with my students that there's really nothing that I can tell you that Siri or Google can't tell you. The strength of a liberal arts education is bringing these multiple perspectives together, engaging in person, in class, in live time, valuing the different perspectives, and not suggesting that one perspective is better or stronger than another. So what a liberal arts education does is to introduce students to various disciplines, and those disciplines allow our students to become a global citizen and a problem solver. So it is our hope that our students never just sit and receive what is given to them, but that they will take it, inquire, tease it out, pull it, press it, until they get to a point where they're able to elevate that level of thinking, right? So the liberal arts model is based on a philosophy that emphasizes breadth over depth. So it's about understanding the width, the reach of our education, not just building on top and on top and on top of what you've already learned, right? So it's a very unique sort of understanding in that we want our students, regardless of their major, to be able to engage real life, what we refer to as social problems, to take a social problem, to understand that there are several ways of viewing the world, but that every way that individuals view the world is worthy of consideration. So we sit and hear from one another. We sit and hear from scholars. We hear from our professors and instructors because everyone's way of viewing the world matters and is significant. And at the end of the day, we're encouraging our students to explore and try on different understandings of the world. That's how we get to become global citizens. We understand that our perspective is our perspective and valuable, but likewise, every brother, sister, sibling that resides in this space also has a valuable perspective. So what a liberal arts education does is help us to understand the ways that others see the world. So now that you have an idea of how we approach our academic structure through liberal arts education, we're going to talk about our majors at Morehouse. So Morehouse is broken up into 4 academic divisions. Those divisions are business and economics. Now, our BE division prepares students to lead in global commerce, multinational corporations and organizations, and launch next generation entrepreneurial endeavors. I will say that business is the largest major. We have about half of our students majoring in business. So these are the young men that will go out and be leaders in our areas of economics, in commerce, in corporations, and in entrepreneurship. And that's something that I think is particularly dear to our hearts, near and dear to our hearts at Morehouse. We have an entrepreneurship minor where we really encourage our young men to be creative, to be innovative, and to find their slice of the pie as it relates to the broad sort of capitalist economic structure of America. The second, well, actually of the globe, right? Worldly, not just of the United States. Our second division, and this is actually our largest division. So our largest major is business administration. Our largest division is the humanities, social sciences, media, and arts division. This division develops disciplined mind committed to the lives of leadership and service through the study of the liberal arts. So as you'll see in a few slides, all of the majors that fall under here are the majors that allow us to really get deep into the inquiry of the ways of thinking, of the ways of engaging, of the ways that we see and view the world. We also have our STEM division, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this division cultivates students who are interested in careers and advanced studies in our STEM fields in engineering, right? So science, technology, math, and engineering. And we'll talk some more again about the majors that fall underneath there shortly. And then lastly, our professional and continuing studies division offers unique programs that allow students to reach their ultimate professional and educational goals. So our professional and continuing studies division highlights various ways that may not be our traditional approaches to earning your undergraduate degree, may not be traditional majors. So let's get into those majors. So we start with our business and economics division. Our division dean, is Dr. Cher Gibbs, and she is responsible for our business administration major. Now, within the business administration major, students are encouraged, I think they're required actually to successfully complete their degree, to name a concentration. So we have 4 concentrations under the business administration degree. Those are accounting, finance, management, and marketing. So within the business administration, our students take courses all the way up through business calculus. They learn about the legal implications of what it means to be a business person in modern day society, but they also declare a concentration. So a student, say, declaring an accounting concentration can then go into an accounting position, an accounting graduation program, sit for the CPA exams, so on and so forth. So several of our students who have majored in business administration do very, very well upon graduation in all of these various areas. Our marketing program is strong, our management program is strong, finance and accounting. Likewise, we also have economics, which sits in the BE division. And our economics majors also are very, very successful. What's interesting about economics is it is a social science more so than the others. So economics looks at the way that people interact with structures, with institutions, sort of with these spaces that are around them, and how then the economy drives or prevents us from moving in a particular direction. So this is our BE division. These are our majors. And again, I will say that the business administration major is the largest major at the college. Our next division, as you see, all the majors that are listed, is the humanities, social sciences, media, and arts division. And this division is led by Dr. Regine Jackson, who's also a sociologist. Just want to slide that in there. And as you see, all of the majors that are listed here, one of the most popular majors in this division is political science. Several of our students are pre-law, and so they come in as political science majors, and they do a fantastic job. Our cinema, television, and emerging media studies program, one of our very own faculty recently had a film that he wrote highlighted on Lifetime. And we've watched it several times, and it's good to know that our instructors who are teaching our young men about cinema, television, and emerging media studies are active in the field and doing work, and we're able to see their own good products. Also, we have the Journalism and Sports Culture and Social Justice program. This is one of our newer majors, and it's fantastic. It's been supported by the likes of Charles Barkley to make sure that our young men are engaging in the art of journalism, but as it relates to sports, to culture, and to social justice. So a very unique program. This is not just a journalism program, a very unique program that incorporates so many of the values that we have. And of course, I would be remiss to not mention sociology, which is another relatively popular major in this division. And sociology is the discipline that helps us to understand the ways that people interact in the world, how we interact with one another, how we interact with groups, how we interact with institutions like our families, our employment, our religion, politics, right? Particularly on a night like tonight, where we have a very large presidential debate about to take place later on this evening. So many of these majors engage these ideas. And this is exactly what we mean by a liberal arts education. You can tap into any of these majors, and any of our young men will be able to bring their major's perspective into conversation with other individuals, with other majors, to be able to sort of push back and really critically engage and challenge the ideas that will be presented tonight in the debate, on the debate stage. So that is the Humanities, Social Sciences, Media, and Arts division. Our third division is our STEM division: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this is led by Dr. Eddie Red. He is the division dean for our STEM majors. Biology is one of our largest majors because we also have several students who are pre-med. So as you see, our students often align with where they want to land. So we have several biology majors who are looking to go into med school. And our biology faculty have done an amazing job of really developing the breadth of our biology program. So students take classes on biospheres as well as they take classes in anatomy. So our biology majors are well equipped to go into the medical field. As you see, we also have software engineering in addition to computer science, kinesiology, mathematics, and psychology. So here again, our young men are being prepared to engage the sciences, technologies, even emerging technologies. We have AI that is embroiled in so much of the work that we're doing, engineering and math. So these young men come out, and many of them go directly into industry. Many of them also go into further study. And so we can see our young men on any given day in a lab pursuing a research question that they have, a project that they're interested in exploring, or in some cases, and I'll talk about this with the PCS division coming up in the next slide, but in some cases, our young men will major in these areas and supplement it with education studies. So we're also able to send our young men into the classrooms so that other Black and brown and children of all hues can see Black men teaching science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And our final division is our Professional and Continuing Studies division. This division is led by Dr. Claude Hutto. He is the dean of the PCS division. And I do want to take a second. I've already referenced the Education Studies major. So this is one of our professional studies program. The Education Studies has four different pathways. So some of our young men want to go directly into the classroom. Others want to be policymakers. Others want to be other types of advocates. Others want to be education administrators. So our Education Studies program is a broad program, again, engaging the breadth of what you can do as you learn and understand education studies. I do want to take a second to highlight our Morehouse online program, our business administration program. This is particularly unique to our Morehouse College because it is a degree completion program. So for young men who have at least 16 credit hours, and you may be able to have fewer and just consult with one of our admissions counselors to determine where you actually land. And I will hand this part over to Mr. Gum, and then I can talk a little bit more about some of the curriculum of the business administration program. So Mr. Gum, can you talk about the acceptance into the business administration Morehouse online program?
Absolutely. So that program, first off, got its origination kicked off really Doc, in like 2020, right about that time. We had just experienced COVID, and what an opportunity to have, in its nutshell, an opportunity for Black men to return, Morehouse men to return back to Morehouse to finish their degree as one aim, and the second aim being such that if you had any type of credits attending a sustainable institution that was fully accredited, you had the opportunity to transfer, to have it so that you can actually come into Morehouse College. You had to be at least, I believe it was 4 years out of Morehouse to make sure that you're able then to apply. And with that program, it allows for those guys who want to enter Morehouse under just this one degree right now, one degree program of business administration. You have this opportunity to earn that degree. The requirements are simple. Have at least a 2.75 GPA. Make sure that you have your letters of recommendation, and we partner with another organization that takes in all the documents that then are streamlined to the admissions main system for us then to render decisions and to support students through the online program. During homecoming, those guys get a chance to actually come back. I think we had our amazing graduation of the Morehouse Online program already. So I think it's our second full graduation cycle, which is phenomenal. So anybody that is interested in that program, there's a lot of men out there that are business oriented that say, I work at these amazing, places, but there's still something missing. And so if that's you, by all means, this is an opportunity to come back and to find yourself wanting to attend Morehouse in a new way. Right? It's not going to be the same as the traditional side, but there is an influx and support system that's in play to help those who want to return. And so definitely, if you're interested, check out our Morehouse Online Business Administration program, and we can definitely support you in that. And there's criteria to make sure you stay on par and stay the course. And so, Dr. Welch, I'll turn it back over to you, but definitely an awesome opportunity there.
Thank you so much for going through all of those requirements and the expectations of the program. And although it is not the traditional experience in that you are physically on campus, the curriculum is the same. So our young men that are completing the business administration online degree have the same academic requirements as our young men that are on the physical campus. So as I'm going to talk about the general education requirements shortly, they are the same for our Morehouse men, regardless of whether they are online or whether they are on ground, as we say sometimes. So it's a wonderful opportunity. And this is the innovation that we continue to see as we go and grow as Morehouse. So our professional and continuing studies division allows us to continue to grow. And I do know that there are conversations, at least, about other online programs, online majors coming to join. Right now, all we have is business administration, but there's plenty of room to grow in the online program. So now let's talk about general education. Just to be clear, general education is the thread that all of our young men have together. And I'm saying young men loosely because this includes our Morehouse Online men who may not be youthful in years, but they are youthful in terms of their matriculation at Morehouse, if you will. So the mission of our general education program is to ground students in African and African diasporic heritage while empowering students to integrate knowledge and skills from their academic and co-curricular experiences. So let me take a second to break that down just a little. So the one thing that is so important is that I could take a sociology class, a political science class anywhere, but in those other places, often African and African diasporic heritage will not be emphasized in that course. It won't be a part of the syllabus. It won't be a part of the learning outcomes. In our general education curriculum, we ensure that our young men are grounded in African and African diasporic heritage. And when we talk about the African diaspora, we mean the dispersals of African people around the world. So we're looking at the continent of Africa. We're looking in the Americas. We're looking in the West Indies. We're looking around the globe, wherever Africans have been dispersed, right? And also it's important that the general education doesn't just happen in the classroom. So we want our students to be able to integrate what is happening in the classroom with what is happening outside of the classroom. And we'll talk some more about some of the co-curricular experiences that are a part of the general education experience. It is our desire for our young men to become active participants in their own learning. We have earned our degrees. We are able to think and critically engage. It is our desire that our young men, from the time they enter those gates as first-year students to the time that they graduate as graduating seniors, Morehouse men, they have embraced their power to learn, to engage, to challenge, to critique, to push back, right? We value general education as a starting point for lifelong work, right? That work will continue as you pursue your majors, as you graduate from Morehouse, and as you go out into the world and begin to implement change. So there are 6 big programmatic outcomes for our general education curriculum. We want our students to demonstrate integrative learning in Black life, history, and culture. So in the various classes that students take, we want them to understand the role of Black life, Black history, and Black culture. And these are not things that students should experience in a disjointed manner. For example, if I'm sitting in a chemistry class, I should be able to learn at least a little bit about Black chemists, or how in economic environments, literally the food that our communities have access to impacts their brain power, right? Because we learn the chemistry of how the food is broken down, how it disseminates through the body, and what that means for students' ability to learn. That is how we demonstrate integrative learning in Black life, history, and culture. We also want our students to be able to communicate effectively. We do this through English, through our modern languages and cultures, as well as, and we'll talk about this in more detail, as well as through our physical education and wellness courses, right? Because you have to be healthy and well to be able to communicate. We need you to be able to understand how to interpret math and talk to us in terms of math. So again, this is a part of the integrative piece. So math is not just about identifying, exploring, and solving problems. It's also about communicating. So if I'm watching the news and somebody gives me some statistics, I can communicate effectively like, I'm not sure that that's exactly what that stat means, because our young men have been able to get in there and play around with the numbers to push back again and challenge those ideas. We also want to be able to practice ethical leadership and global citizenship. As we talk about service learning, it is so critically important that our young men are able to be ethical leaders, that they are responsible citizens of the globe, and that we advocate even for the least of these. I've referenced identifying, exploring, and solving problems. Our young men have to be able to do that. This is how we continue to build upon and improve the world that we've inherited, right? We're able to see, hey, something's not right here. How can we fix it? How can we resolve it? How can we improve it, even if just a little bit, right? And we often see this through our STEM courses. Our students have to be able to demonstrate breadth and integration of learning. So again, we want to see the co-curricular, the interdisciplinary conversations. So when students are talking about what happens in their sociology class, they're linking it to their philosophy classes, right? This is exactly what the breadth and integration of learning is. For so many of us, as adults, we took our math class and it was just math. We took our English class and it was just English. We took our science classes and it was just science. Well, what we desire for our young men to get out of this general education curriculum is the integration of all these pieces together. So they see how the science matters for the English, and they see how the English matters for the math, right? And then lastly, and quite importantly, our students have to be able to engage identity and equity. We have the wonderful fortune of being here at Morehouse in a space where we have a wonderful population of Black men. And so we're able to engage all of the identity and equity. What does it mean to be Black in all of its fullness? What does it mean to be male in all of its fullness, right? So we're able to critically engage that and allow our students to be their best selves, whatever that looks like, whoever they are. And in this space at Morehouse College, we are able to see our students grow and thrive because they're not necessarily in there trying to fight to figure out, how do I appease this particular brand or this particular style? They're able to fight and figure out, how do I become my best self? So engaging identity and equity is a critical piece. So these 6 programmatic outcomes shape the foundation of our general education curriculum. So those 6 programmatic outcomes are achieved through 3 overlapping categories. And we say that they're overlapping because core skills are also thematic areas, and we also see them in our first year experience, okay? So let's take a little bit of time to break down each of these 3 overlapping categories. The first is our core skills. So as I said, communicating effectively is something we expect all of our young men to do. I think Mr. Gum already referenced the very popular saying that you can always tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much. We want to be sure that whatever he is saying is solid, is clear, is effective, is accurate. So we ensure that our young men are communicating effectively through our English language courses. So our students are required to complete English 101 and English 102, or our honor students are able to participate in English 103. And yes, the honors program is an option for all majors. I know that we're supposed to wait to answer questions, but because I see them, I'll go ahead and respond to them if I am able to. So in our English courses, our students are able to communicate clearly and effectively through writing, right? So they critically analyze problems. They apply research tools in writing. And again, they integrate materials, ideas, and text from the African diaspora into their writing. Modern languages and culture is an area that we strongly believe learning a foreign language in today's world is critical to attaining our mission for our students to become global citizens, right? So to do so, our students are required to complete up to level 201 or a higher course. And all of the languages that we offer are listed, and some of those languages are offered at Spelman. Now, with that being said, when students apply and are accepted into the college, they take and make their deposit. They take a placement test, and that placement test then places them into whichever level of foreign language they place into. So if you place into 101, you have to do 101, and then 102, and then 201, and then your language requirement has been met. If you test above 201, you still have to take one higher course. So maybe it'll be a Spanish cinema course, or maybe it's a course on a German culture, right? So there are courses that are above 201, but every student is required to take at least one semester of a modern language and culture course, right? And all of this is to be able to ensure that our students are able to communicate effectively. Likewise, we want our students to be able to engage mathematical and quantitative literacy, right? When you see quantitative information, our students need to be able to analyze it and draw concise and coherent conclusions. We want our students to be able to use the tools of mathematics to represent, analyze, and solve problems that involve quantitative information. Our young men cannot shy away from numbers. Instead, they should be able to estimate, deduce, and infer quantitative conclusions using the systems, ideas, and theories of math or statistics. In order to accomplish this, our young men are required to complete 3 credit hours above College Algebra 1. Now, this is important because just like with modern languages and culture, students will take a test, and that test that determines where they place into. So let's say a student places into Calculus 1. Calculus 1 is above College Algebra, so they complete the semester of Calculus 1, and they are done. If a student places into College Algebra 1, they are required to take another math course, ideally a 3 credit hour course. If you are a business major or a STEM major, you want to be sure that the math courses that you take that matter for your major also align, because to complete our general education requirements, you have to take 3 credit hours above college algebra. Some of our math classes that are above college algebra are 2 credit hours, so you may have to take 2 to ensure that you meet the 3 credit hours. So that's just something to pay attention to. But we value that our young men are really effectively able to engage and understand quantitative information. Health and wellness, as I referenced earlier, is another area that our young men have to communicate effectively because they have to be healthy. Our students have to understand what it means to be in good health, to know how to be in good health, and to engage in healthy practices that ensure personal wellness. So the way that we teach health and wellness is a research-based optimal life skills course for personal wellness. So our young men apply the 7 dimensions of wellness: physical, spiritual, intellectual, emotional, environmental, occupational, and social. Students are required to complete 2 courses, 1 physical activity, so that's badminton, that's swimming, that's basketball, right? And other physical activity courses. And then also our Wellness for Life course, so that we can ensure that our young men are in good health themselves, so that they can be in good, healthy relationships where they're communicating effectively, okay? Now we've talked about our core skills, so let's take a little bit of time to talk about our thematic areas. We have 4 thematic areas: arts and literature, ideas and ethics, society and culture, and scientific discovery. And we have fabulous courses in each of these areas. So we will start with arts and literature. We want our students to be able to communicate effectively about the arts and about literature, right? To identify artistic, cultural, and literary traditions and movement, understand theses and context of creative production, understand principles of storytelling, particularly because that is such an important component of our African experience, and to be able to critique various modes of human creative expression, right? We want to elevate the conversations just beyond Drake and Kendrick. We want our students to truly be able to engage broader understandings and engagement of arts and literature. So students are required to take 1 course. What you see listed on the screen are several of the courses that relate to our arts and literature thematic area. Students are only required to take 1 of these. And you'll notice that on the screen, some of these have a FYE in parentheses. Those are also first-year experience courses, which students have to take 2 of. This is our 3rd overlapping area that I'll talk about in a minute. But I just want you to notice that there is some, what we refer to as double dipping. So the course that you take to meet your 1 course thematic area in arts and literature can also meet one of your first-year experience course requirements. The second thematic area that we'll highlight are ideas and ethics. And these concepts, right, being able to communicate about social responsibility, justice, and ethical leadership are accomplished through primarily our leadership studies courses, our philosophy, religion courses, but also we see some in English and political science, right? So again, this is the interdisciplinarity, the integrative learning that we've referenced. So our students are able to understand ethical systems, sacred writings, and wisdom traditions as they sit in a larger global context. We engage perennial questions like the meaning and the purpose of life, the limits of knowledge, the nature of existence, literal epistemology, the human condition, and human mortality, right? And our students are able to evaluate arguments using philosophical, religious, and/or ethical reasoning. Ideas and ethics, again, are a key component to ensuring that our young men leave Morehouse as social change agents. And again, you'll see the list of courses. In this area, you're required to take 2 courses. So 1 course in art and literature, 2 courses in ideas and ethics. Likewise, our 3rd thematic area is society and culture. And you see the list is long in society and culture. This is where our students can communicate effectively about the social world. We understand people, how people relate to one another, and politics within a global context. We analyze problems using developed social science theories and methodologies, not using what we talked about in the barbershop, right? Not just our opinions, but we engage social problems with established research, right? We share this with our students such that when they leave, they're able to quote theorists and theoretical ideas as opposed to just opinion, right? We also want our students to be able to interpret social inequity as it relates to race, gender, class, sexuality, nationality, and/or other forms of difference. Like the last category of ideas and ethics, society and culture, students are required to take 2 courses. And I should point out, Whenever students are required to take two courses, they have to be in two different disciplines. So in society and culture, I can take a course in political science and a course in sociology, but both of my required courses cannot be in sociology. And you see the list is very long. Again, you'll see the FYE courses identified in parentheses here. But one of the courses I love to highlight is our Black entrepreneurship course. That is one of our business administration courses, but it's not under sort of the math area where we might place it. It's under society and culture. Because as we look at Black entrepreneurship history in the United States, particularly in a wonderful city like Atlanta, we are able to gauge society and culture because Black entrepreneurship is all about social problems. It's all about social relations and politics and people understanding the social world. So again, this is a prime example of integrative learning and the breadth being more important as the depth, right? And our last thematic area is our scientific discovery area. And this is where you'll see our STEM courses, right? We want our students to be able to communicate findings in writing, to communicate them visually, and to communicate them orally. Be able to recall key information about the natural world, analyze data, and draw conclusions from raw data. We want to give them a problem and have them be able to solve the problem, to share the problem, to problematize the problem, right? Our students should be able to apply scientific concepts to real world problems. So again, we're not just evaluating this based on our opinion, but we're taking scientific concepts. We're taking established theories, agreed upon principles, and applying them to problems, and then performing the experimental scientific process by designing and conducting experiments. Again, students are required to take two courses in scientific discovery, and they must be in two different disciplines. So again, we have biology, chemistry, and physical science in this area. Our third overlapping area are the first year experience courses. And I will say this is what I think is one of the most unique components of our general education curriculum. So as we look at the first year experience, each of these courses, and you've seen them listed under our thematic areas, each of these courses includes a component of service learning and a focus on Black life, history, and culture. So I used the example earlier when I was speaking that we can teach basic sociology tenets and principles, but for us, our courses will emphasize Black life, history, and culture. And that matters because it aligns with who we are, right? In understanding our African and African diasporic context, right? So you see the courses were listed in thematic areas. They're also listed here. And they're fascinating courses. When I think about Blacks in Wonderland, how amazing is it that we have English professors who write about Black fantasy and literature, and our students are able to engage that. And their service learning for that class was to put on or participate in the putting on of one of those, and I always say it wrong, but one of those sort of Dragon Con festivals, but it was focused on Black fantasy. These are experiences that you're not getting at other schools, right? The first year experience happens here, and students are required to take two FYE courses. It's very important at the bottom of the slide. You see Crown Forum and Freshman Orientation. Crown Forum is a requirement of our general education curriculum. It is one of those co-curricular components that we referenced earlier in the presentation. And students are required to take 6 semesters if they are first-time, full-time students. For each of those semesters, they earn half a credit, totaling 3 credits, right? Half a credit for 6 semesters, totals 3 credits over the course of their matriculation. Crown Forum is a very special time on our campus. It's a time in our opening convocation. Our first Crown Forum of the year will be this Thursday, so we're all very excited. The entire campus community comes together, faculty, staff, and students. We filter into King Chapel. We celebrate and acknowledge who Morehouse is. We often hear an amazing speaker who is doing something fantastic, who's challenging us. And then we're able to engage those ideas back in the classroom as we walk around or walk up and down Brown Street, which is sort of is the street that runs through the middle of campus. But that's what Crown Forum is. It's the time that we all come together, we hear and engage ideas, and then we're able to re-engage those ideas in other academic and co-curricular spaces. For transfer students, if you transfer into Morehouse and you only have 4 semesters remaining to earn your degree, then you're only required to take Crown Forum for 4 semesters. But every semester that a transfer student is at Morehouse, they should be enrolled in Crown Forum until they get to 6 semesters. And likewise, transfer students earn half a credit for each semester as well. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that we are big on academic success. So although we want all of our students to be amazingly successful, we want to ensure that students have all of the tools that they need to be successful. So we offer tutoring, success skills workshops, and study halls, all in the Frederick Douglass Academic Success Center, as well as a writing center in Brawley Hall. I also want to point out that some majors like math also has tutors in addition to the tutors who are in the Frederick Douglass Academic Success Center. So regardless of what your needs may be, we are able to meet them, and we've thought about these things with you in mind. And certainly when students bring additional resources that they need, we adjust and try to be sure to accomplish those for our students, because we want our students to have all the tools that they need to be successful. So as we look at the broad sort of gen ed landscape, this is our credit hour tally. And I always want to pause here to be sure that we're clear. To graduate Morehouse College, you have to earn 120 credit hours. You have to have at least a 2.0, and you have to complete the coursework required to earn a major. So those are 3 requirements to graduate Morehouse: 120 credit hours, at least a 2.0 GPA at graduation, and have completed the course to a major in the degree. You can't just take random classes to get to 120. It has to be a degree program completion. So to respond to the question, absolutely, Morehouse allows dual majors because, as you see, the general education curriculum, when we tally up all the credit hours, the low end is for students who place out of language or place very high in math, who are transfer students, so they don't need the full semesters of Crown Forum, 34 up to about 52 credit hours. Many majors are, say, around 40, 50 credit hours. So you are able, in many cases, to double major, or to have a major and a minor, or a major and a double minor. Students are able to do a lot. And that's one of the strengths of our general education curriculum, is it truly allows students to explore a liberal arts education, which is another component to a liberal arts education, is being able to explore, take things that just interest you, not things that just will train you for a job. Our goal at Morehouse is to train you to think, and then you can thrive on any job that you have. I believe I will hand it over to you now, Mr. Gum, to manage the Q&A. But thank you all so much for your time and attention as we talked about the academic structure in our core curricular and general education curriculum here at Morehouse.
And Dr. Welcher, that was phenomenal information. I know we have questions definitely in the chat. You all participants, this is your time to ask questions. We want you to engage. We want you to, ask those questions that are on your heart, that is on your mind. There is so much that Dr. Welcher mentioned in terms of just what are the classes, what does the dual enrollment look like? What are the major courses, right? She talked about the 120 semester hours to graduate. There's many questions in between those questions, like that answer. So this is the platform to really discuss and to speak to what it is that Dr. Welcher is referencing, so that we can make sure that we have this amazing dialogue as we continue this amazing conversation. So the first one, Dr. Welcher answered: do you guys allow dual majors? Dr. Welcher, I'll let you kind of reiterate the point you made.
Yep, absolutely. Students are able to double major. Now, again, you want to be sure that you are on time to degree. So we would not encourage you to double major. Some of our majors are very, very credit hour heavy. So some double majors are easier to accomplish than others simply because of the sheer number of credit hours, but absolutely we allow it. This is something we would strongly encourage you to speak with your academic advisor about, to be sure that that's right for you. But we have several students who double major. And again, our general education curriculum allows for students to double major because the requirement for our gen ed is a little bit lower than it used to be many, many years ago.
Yep. And so definitely we want you all, as you think about your majors, it's also important to stay on task. right? So sometimes you might say, "Oh, I can make it happen in high school." Doc, from your experience, just following up with that, would you recommend that? And if so, what does a student's regular balance look like?
So yeah, let's take a second. Morehouse is not high school. Now, I will be very, very clear in that often what you were taught to do in high school is to just repeat what the teacher has told you, to regurgitate what the teacher has told you. There's a wonderful text that I often refer everyone to read, Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire, which talks about the banking method of education. And so much of us in our high school classrooms were just taught the teacher gives us information. If we give it back to the teacher, we score high and we're able to get into a good college, right? At Morehouse, remember, I spent so much time earlier talking about how important it is to learn to think on your own. If I can tell a personal anecdote, now I didn't go to Morehouse, of course, I went to Spelman, but my very first paper, I got a C and I was shocked. And I looked at my professor, who was Dr. Michael Gomez, amazing historian. And I said, "Oh my goodness, Dr. Gomez, something is wrong here. You gave me a C." And he said, "No, you earned a C because all you did was to tell me what the authors already told me. I know what they think. I want to know what you think." And so here at Morehouse, we endeavor to hear what you think. And often that takes a different way of thinking than you're accustomed to doing. So it's my advice to manage your time well. The rule of thumb is that if you are taking a 3 credit hour class, you should be doing 3 hours outside of class. So you have your class, 3 hours, 50 minutes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 75 minutes on Tuesday or Thursday. In addition to those 3 hours, you're doing 3 hours outside, making sure that you're doing all the readings, doing all of your assignments. So time management is critically important. And it's also important to know yourself, to know your own strengths and weaknesses. So if you know that waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning is not going to work for you, then plan afternoon, late evening study time. So be truthful about who you are and your strengths and weaknesses, but don't necessarily try to hook it and crook it the way you may have been able to do in high school, because that may not work. Most students who have tried it, in my experience, have been quite unsuccessful.
Those are huge points, and balancing your time that Dr. Welcher is talking about. I mean, it's definitely one of those things you just have to make sure that you are really evaluating. And Doc said it, it's not like high school. It's not like high school. So that kind of brings us to this idea of honor programs and options for all majors. Is there honor programs? Is that an option for those, who desire to major in different things?
Absolutely. So the honors program is a program that students are able to apply to when they are admitted. And the Howard Thurman Honors Program sets standards. And if you meet those standards, you are accepted into the program. You're able to then register for honors program courses. There's also honors programming. There are honors program conferences that the honors program students do. They are able to be ambassadors of the college at certain sort of academic events. So you can be any major to be in the honors program, but there is an application process. And I would say that it's relatively rigorous. But when you apply to Morehouse, be sure to look at the program, reach out to the director of the program to inquire about what might make your application stronger. But absolutely, you can be any major to participate in the Howard Thurman Honors Program.
Absolutely. The one thing I'll just put a hint to the honors program too. It's so important that you just don't look at yourself just as a scholar, but be well-rounded when applying, because everybody thinks, oh, I have a 3.7 GPA, I have this, I have that, and it's not a guarantee you're going to get in the honors program. So once you apply to Morehouse, and if admitted, right? And for all of you on this call, we know you're going to be admitted, so we're not worried about that. What I will say is make sure you put your best foot forward as you think about our early action and early decision notifications and deadlines. But I put that little hint there to say you might think that, oh, automatically I'm gonna be in the honors program. There's a whole separate application, and there's a sense of rigor that Dr. Welcher's been talking about. And that word rigor keeps coming up, Dr. Welcher, as you keep talking and keep speaking. That I just want to really harp on you all this fact of making sure that you're showing that academic rigor and coming into Morehouse, that you're aggressively ready to take on the rigor that it takes to do well at Morehouse. And so, some of you all definitely you heard Dr. Welcher talk about the necessary credits and things of that nature. And Doc, this question kind of comes up sometimes where students like, look, I'm going to graduate with an associate's degree. I'll have 60 credits coming into Morehouse. What does that look like? And is there classes that you might have to retake? Is there some aspects that not all 60 credits are transferable in your eyes?
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that is something that often students and parents are quite concerned about. So, as I shared with you, when I reviewed each of our thematic areas and the classes that were associated with it, there are specific learning outcomes that are required for each of our classes. So simply because you have taken, say, Intro to Sociology, it doesn't mean that your Intro to Sociology class covered all of the areas that need to be covered in our student learning outcomes. So there may be cases where you are required to repeat a course that you have. I know a student, and again, this is a Spelman example, but this student, and actually I have a Morehouse one as well. I want to say the student earned a 4 on the calculus AB. I may be overdoing it, but I think it's the AB, not the BC, the calculus AB exam. But when they came to Morehouse or Spelman, because they wanted to major in math, they were required to retake the calculus course here. Now, of course, they did very, very well, but the nuances, the way that math degree holders for Morehouse engaged calculus may be different than just sort of the basics that are required even of an AP exam. So between your earned credit hours through dual enrollment, or if you are a transfer student with an associate's degree, or your AP, IB placements, all those sorts of things, we do consider them, but they're really on a case-by-case basis. So you don't want to come in with the assumption that everything that you've done is going to be accepted. And also, I think the question was if I come in with an associate's, will I still be considered a freshman? So you're still required to take at least one first-year experience course. You won't be required to take 2 because you have so many credit hours, but you will still be required to take the first-year experience courses. You'll be required to do Crown Form every semester. And the expectation is if you come in and you're here for 6 semesters, you will be enrolled in Crown Form each of those 6 semesters. So it really depends. And I know it also becomes a dollars and cents conversation. So it really depends on what works best for your family and for Morehouse. So it becomes a joint conversation between the academic side and sort of the fiscal side. So if you're coming in with an associate's degree and you're like 2 years, I'm in and out, then that's fine. You're still required to do a first year experience. So you will get some of that freshman treatment, if you will, but also you will be basically standing as a junior. And so the expectation will be that you engage in the curriculum that juniors engage in, but it really is a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, that's huge. And there's a lot that you said right there. So it's really important that you're assessing how you're coming in. I know if you go to the Morehouse website, there's the transfer equivalency tool where you're able to look at what high school classes, if college level coursework actually is transferable, right, into Morehouse. And so that's definitely a tool you want to peruse and go to the Morehouse website to look at. Because Dr. Welcher is absolutely right. Not every class that comes in that you took, whether it's an AP class and maybe you scored a 4 or 5 in AP Bio, well, that bio class might not be transferable if you're a bio major. So there's some real questions that you want to make sure that you answer on the front end. And so, Doc, speaking of the front end, right, there's this concept of, which makes sense, for high school seniors graduate with college credits. How do you know if your credits can be accepted, right? And so that kind of leans to some of what we were talking about. So from your angle, there's a lot of folks that come in with college level coursework. Again, how do you know which ones are accepted and which ones are not?
So my understanding of that, and that's actually a better question for the registrar, but as a department chair, I am often charged with assessing courses. So let's say that a student has taken a social problems class at their community college back home as part of their high school's dual enrollment program. I am then approached from the records and registrar's office saying, hey, will we count this as the equivalent credit? In some cases, I look at it and I'm like, oh, yeah. This social problems course is the same as our social problems course. Some cases I'm like, no, it's not the same, but they can be awarded elective credits for that course. So you get 3 credits that might take you towards the 120, but it won't meet that society and culture requirement, or it won't meet that requirement as a major or minor in that area. So again, it's a case-by-case basis. So I would encourage you, once you know, as I hope you all do, that you are attending Morehouse, that you go ahead and get engaged with your academic advisor sooner rather than later, because again, each of these is a case-by-case basis.
Very important distinguishing factor. And the key there is that it's electives that could be offered or accepted, not necessarily the class. And so when she was talking about the major and core classes, there's a combination effect that really, really matters to making sure you know, again, that you know what's going on. There was a question of, can you enroll as undecided as starting as a freshman? So what is your take on a student coming in and saying, hey, I really don't know what I want to major in. Can I be undecided coming in?
I think that is wonderful. I think so often students come in thinking they know what they're going to major in. They take a couple of classes and they're like, this is not what I thought it was. So to come in undecided is absolutely okay. Now, don't stay undecided for too long. You can maybe do a year, maybe a year and a half, but by second semester, sophomore year, you need to be in your major. But certainly, as a first-year student, explore. Take things that sound interesting. Take things that you think you might like. Take something that you knew you wouldn't like. And come to find out, that might end up being your major. So again, the liberal arts education is created in such a way that you can explore. You can try, you can sample, you can taste, you can see how this aligns with this, how it matches with that, how it stands in opposition to something else. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with coming in undeclared. Don't stay undeclared too long, but as you're undeclared, explore, right? Explore and see what you like, what moves you, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to get you out. I always advise students, major in something that moves you, something you're passionate about, and do well in it. And then whatever step is next, you'll be well suited to do, because you'll have a good GPA. You'll be able to talk about important concepts that you're asked about as an employer, that an employer might ask you, that a graduate program might ask you. Whatever it is, study what you're passionate about, and it will make room for everything else.
Absolutely. And that's so important. And Doc, you hit the nail on the head as you think about when, right? Because that's a win factor. Like, when should you be declaring a major? So taking a lot of those FYE classes you were talking about, first year experience, and taking some of those core, you'll define it, because we know the average student will change their major too, right? I was a bio major when I first started. I went to political science, and my God, then I found philosophy. So I tell you, I am a humanities by heart. That's why it's such a long laundry list, because I feel like if you have a mind and you could do liberal arts, you can do anything. So just kind of keep that in mind. And I mean, the fabric of our foundation is the humanities by nature. So with no plug or no shade to the others, just humanities. You get that, you're fine. So I will just pivot, right? Right. I'm just saying that. I'll pivot to say some of the things that we get, and I'll answer this one. And then, Doc, if you have anything to add to this, by all means. But there was a question of, will there be any recruiters coming to certain Michigan schools? And if so, can I recommend my school? Absolutely. Please recommend your school. By all means, we will reach back out. What's great is you can find your recruiter on our Morehouse website. For the Michigan area, that individual is Stefan Harden. You can find Stefan's email address there. And we have plans to go to Detroit, the Michigan area. Some amazing schools in Michigan we don't want to skip on, we don't want to miss, but there could be a school that we do miss. We don't want to miss you. So by all means, connect with us and we will make sure of that. And Doc, just from your angle of recruitment and looking at various areas and schools, what is your take on sort of the recruitment aspect? How do you recruit students? And so what do you look for in students that are coming into Morehouse? I'll put it there.
Well, that's such a great question. So I'm a believer that anybody can do great at Morehouse if your mindset is correct, right? So I often joke with students, particularly the students from the Midwest, because I didn't go through my academic resume, but I did Spelman undergrad. I did the University of Michigan for my first master's, and then Stanford University in Emory for my second master's and my doctorate, respectively. And I'm a big Michigan fan. So whenever I see Michigan, even after the game, I'm still a big Michigan fan. It wasn't great for us this weekend, but I'm still a big Michigan fan. With that being said, there are several students here from various parts of Michigan. So we have some who are from Novi, some who are from Detroit, some who are from Farmington Hills, some who are from Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor. We get the gamut. So the truth of the matter is, you can be from anywhere and you'll come to Morehouse and find somebody who, if they're not from where you're from, they're familiar with it. They're down the street from it. They're close to it. They've played your school in football, right? So I think that that is really, really important. So as we talk about recruiting folks to come to Morehouse, it's very important that we have a diverse student body population. So what we gain by having folks from all these different places is several different perspectives. And as I talked about earlier, the strength of this liberal arts curriculum is being able to see the value in what everyone believes, to be able to understand what everyone thinks, right? So you don't have to agree with them, but you need to be able to make sense of what they think and what they say. So with that being said, whenever I have an opportunity to talk about Morehouse, I'm happy to do it because I think it's an amazing place. And I think the more diversity of thought that we have with our men, our undergraduate students, the better we all are for it. So please, please tell us your school and let's see if we can't connect.
Absolutely. And we'll, we try to get everywhere. But I think one thing about us is it's our village that makes an impact and makes a difference. So Dr. Welcher has spoken to students that are interested in Morehouse, has gotten students to actually come. So her own son's about to be a graduate. We're going to call it in existence, going to be graduating Morehouse, future Morehouse man. And there's just so many intricate parts to just understanding what Morehouse brings and why it's significant, why it's important. And we want to come to you. We want to see where you are. There's ways to connect. And what's amazing is we have opportunities to just have invites and things of that nature. So we'll get to you. We'll get to you. And so to the next question on here, will anyone be coming to Greensboro, North Carolina? Doc, they want us. We will be there. We will be there. We'll find ways to get there. I don't know about walking on AT's campus. We might have to just go ahead and approach them. I don't see no problem with that. If you invite us, we might be able to come out. But I would say come to our open house. Hey, right. That's going to be coming up. So we'll talk more about that towards the latter. But Doc, this question is for you, which is a good question. Do teachers hold office hours? I think that's a great question. We didn't talk about that a little bit, and do you meet outside the classroom? And I think about Professor Ilya Davis on that one.
So I'm so glad that you mentioned him. So Professor Davis will literally stand on Brown Street, which is a street that I referenced that runs through the center of campus. He will literally stand on the corner and students will come in droves and they'll just stand out there talking for hours. So the short answer to your question is absolutely yes. Faculty love to engage with students because, again, our goal, we're endeavoring to plant seeds of thought in your mind. So we can teach our curriculum, but also just being able to engage current social problems, current social ideas, things that you've observed that you want to talk about. After my classes, I often joke, I feel like a mother duck walking down the hallway because it'll be me and then a line of my students behind coming literally right after class, coming into my office. I was joking saying that my office is like the boom boom room because there's so many people discussing ideas, right? We're not there just playing. We're engaging. Today, we're talking about souls of Black folks, right? And what does it mean to have a double consciousness in my office, not in the classroom? We started the conversation in the classroom yesterday. The conversation continued today in the office. And students are there with the book. Now, whether the book may be on their phones, but they're there with the book providing quotes. And we're talking about it in my office, not in class, not for a test, not for an assignment, but just because students have been exposed to an idea, to a way of thinking that they want to critically interrogate. So in short, faculty love to engage with students during our office hours, and faculty do hold office hours. And also, just as faculty are present on campus, we love to get to know our students, to engage our students. And as a student, you want to have those faculty members that you know well, because that's who you can ask for recommendations, for internships, for scholarship programs, for graduate school, for employment. So you want to find those opportunities to really get to know your faculty outside of just the classroom. And when students come to me who've only been in my class and like, hey, can you write me a letter of recommendation? I'll say it's not going to be a very strong one because I don't really know much about you outside of how you wrote those essays or the few times you may have raised your hands. So it behooves you not just for the ability to think critically and engage these ideas, but also to get to your next step to engage with your faculty.
So important. So important. Dr. Welcher, what kind of courses are mandatory for a business major? So and if we don't know them specifically, there's so many. Is
Yes.
there a reference to where they can get that information?
Absolutely. So you should be able to find that on the Morehouse website. I know business majors are required to take micro and macro economics. Now, of course, I referenced the concentration, so there is some variation in the concentration, but I think that they all are required to take microeconomics, macroeconomics, business calculus. And so often on the path to business calculus, they're required to also take trigonometry, and that prepares them for the business calculus course. I believe that's correct. And then there are other courses, legal environment of business. There are several other courses that business majors are required to take, but you should be able to go to the Morehouse website, look under academics, and get more information about the courses that business majors are required to take. Because that's not my division and not my area, I don't know all of them off the top of my head. I do know the ones that I named, that those are some of the courses they're required to take, but there are several. It's a very, very hardy major.
Awesome. 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 And so this final question before I actually get into our open house and when that takes place and some things we want to make sure everybody's aware of is Doc, with the testing, is that for all core course placement? And if they place higher and only need one course to meet a particular requirement, does that mean they have completed the hours of the course they have placed out of? I.e., can they graduate more quickly is the
Right.
question.
So I'm really glad that you asked that question because it's really important to clarify that. So when students take the placement test, and it's really for the language courses and the math courses, the English courses, you're placed into English 101 or 102. I think it's often based on your SAT scores or your ACT scores. And then 103 is for students who are in the honors program. When you place into that course, let's say that I place into English 102, I am not given the credit hours for English 101. So instead of 6 credit hours that I would have earned had I taken English 101 and 102, I only earned 3 credit hours for English 102 based on the placement test. I only earned those 3 credit hours for English 102. So I've met the requirement because I placed out of English 101. I successfully completed English 102, but I only earned 3 credit hours instead of 6. So I'll have to make those other credit hours up with other courses. I can choose a double major. I can choose a minor. I can just take a course that I think is interesting, but those 3 credit hours that I placed out of will not be given to me. I'll still have to earn them later. I've just met the requirement for that graduation sort of criteria sooner. Now, if you took English 101 at your dual enrollment program in high school, you may receive the credit hours for that if it's considered a transfer equivalent. And again, that's on a case-by-case basis. But if you're just doing the placement test, you do not receive credits for courses you place out of, but you can complete that general education requirement sooner, which will allow you to be able to get into your major and minor courses sooner, but it won't get you to the 120 any quicker. I hope that's clear.
That is no, that's clear, Doc. That's clear. That's clear. Wealth of knowledge, like a wealth of knowledge, Doc. We are so thankful for you for the time. I know you taught classes today, you engaged today, you made it happen like always, and we're just so thankful to have you here. I know you recently was awarded something during graduation. Can you talk about that a little bit? Just a little plug.
Absolutely. So I the great fortune of being with Materials Company Teaching Award. And what that is it's given to a faculty member who has been exemplary in teaching. And I was so grateful to receive that award. It was wonderful. I was nominated by my faculty, my colleagues, my peers. And when it was announced, my students celebrated and applauded me, and it was a wonderful feeling. And so I was recognized on the stage with President Biden. So that made it even more special. And it happened to be my 25th reunion year from Spelman. So I'm very, very grateful that my work is going recognized, and that more importantly, it's impactful, that students' lives are being impacted by what's happening in the classroom. So thank you, Mr. Gum, for that shout out. But I'm truly honored to have received that award. So thank you.
Absolutely. And congratulations. And thank you for all you do for Morehouse College. Family, that concludes our time. I definitely want to make sure that everybody knows to join us for our fall open house on October the 14th. So that will be our open house. That's a chance to see the players, kick the dirt, engage, and build the right relationships and learn about the amazingness of Morehouse College. You'll probably see Dr. Welcher there and some other faculty and some others. So by all means, we want to be able to build that rapport as you get a chance to get more engaged at Morehouse College. Thank you for joining our Tiger Talks Tuesday and have a wonderful evening.